I'm Krista, and I'm here with Suzy. Suzy is one of my clients, and we're just going to be chatting with Suzy today and asking her a few questions about her experience in the Thriving Yogipreneur program and some of the wins that she's had. So, hi, Suzy. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing fabulous. It's been
That's
a wonderful, wonderful journey.
that's awesome. How long have you been in the program now, Suzy?
It would be almost a year.
That's amazing. And
Mhm.
along that way, it's been an interesting journey for you, to say the least. Isn't that
It's
true?
yeah, it's been so interesting. I can say what I had put out as an expectation for myself within this program definitely is not how it's been rolling out, but there's been such a great kind of ease in the process and being able to kind of notice certain patterns of myself in the past of I would have reacted so differently, without the
Mhm.
support and without being able to bring things within this group right to the forefront as things were unfolding in my life. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
So, Susie, that's amazing. Tell us a little bit about like who you are, what you do.
So I own Reveal Wellness Studio. And last year was the last year that it was actually a studio. So it was a full on holistic clinic with acupuncturists, massage therapists. Um, and before COVID, we had like a full on yoga studio that we were also using for workshops and a whole bunch of different types of events. And then when COVID happened, things just kind of, had a different we needed to change and transition. And I think it was a
Mhm.
good time for me to kind of really sit back and analyze how is it that I want to run business if this is the way it feels, if this is the way business is going to be. So prior to COVID, it was you know, my practice was pretty much booked out a good 6 weeks in advance. And that seemed to just be how my career was. On top of running the studio and then also doing all the things that business ownership has um, under its umbrella. And yeah, it was a really good time to kind of transition and really think and prioritize how I can have my business serve me better. Um,
Mhm.
and really being, you know, speaking and living and breathing, basically running a business from the space of my heart and soul.
Amazing. Yeah. And like that time gave us such big reflection. I think so many businesses were impacted by that, and kind of looking at what it is that you wanted to create. How did this mentorship program, this coaching program, how did it kind of come along for you? Why did you choose to sign up with it?
Well, this time last year, let's just start off by saying that, one of the words I like to pick words at the beginning of the year, just something to kind
Right.
of draw me back to my intention for how the energetics of the year is going to roll out. So last year, I picked a few that revolved around expansion, opportunity, and growth. And with that, this time last year, I had a lot of travel opportunities. And it was yes, my body is saying yes, my heart is saying yes, you're going to go. So this time last year, I had already done a talk out in UCLA about my practice. I went to Costa Rica and then I came home for a bit and then went back. I went out to Scotland for a couple of weeks. And then when I came back, I was well, I want to say in my travels, it was very apparent to me because I was traveling by myself, um, that, you know, Susie never really had the chance to connect with Susie in the last couple decades. With being a mom and having senior parents, it was, revolving around what everybody else is going to do and how I'm going to kind of fit myself in to make everything kind of work out smoothly all the time. And traveling by myself really started to ignite that freedom in me
Hmm.
of, being able to ask myself, what does Susie want to do today? And it was so foreign to me because there was no lunches to be made. There was no emails that had to be returned. There was, nothing that needed any urgency. It was basically Suzy versus Suzy. And so when I came back from my travels, I was like, I want more of that flexibility and time for myself because I found it very inspiring. And it was one of those um times in my life where it was like, even though I know there was a little bit of a percentage of fear there to go out and travel by myself, it really did feel fearless at the same time. And so coming home with this sense of like wanting to build freedom and flexibility and kind of like reprioritize life and really sit in the seat of my heart and soul to kind of figure out if I have a perception of how business looks like and should feel like, how am I now aligned with that? And am I aligned with it? So jumping into
Mhm.
this mentorship program, that was probably one of the biggest things of like, okay, what else is possible out there? If I'm a business owner, how much more can I expand business and what other areas of business do I want to challenge myself with? And
Mm.
what kind of support is out there that can help me stay accountable with certain goals?
Right. So you were kind of coming off of this really big experience where you were traveling, you were doing a lot of things that you were loving doing. It was giving you this freedom and flexibility that you weren't having before. And then you're looking at it, you're coming back and you're saying, okay, well, wait a second. With my business, what do I want to be creating? How do I want my time to be looking? And you're starting to see that there's a difference between where you would like to be, or you'd like to reconfigure that based on where you were. You're seeing that there's this gap between where you were and where you wanted to be. Like, can you tell me a bit about your financial situation at that time
Yeah,
when
you
you
know
started?
what? Financially, running a business, I, I didn't take too much care into it. There were always invoices, bills to pay, and it was just like, this is what it is to run a business. Like, these are the responsibilities, and these are the bills that we have to come up with, or these are the bills that I have to pay. And I never really took like a fine-tooth comb to really sift through it and ask myself like anything about overhead or anything about like financials in business. It was like, these are the taxes you have to pay, and it just kept on rolling. And
Right.
so um yeah, it was really monotonous. I didn't care too much for it until I started to care. Until, within this program, it gave me a really good um, sense about money, because when these transitions and the idea of reprioritizing life and reorganizing business came up to suit me, that's when this whole financial bubble started to become like this cloud of like, oh gosh, like this is how much I spend on the overhead for business on a monthly basis. Like, what am I taking home from that? Like,
Mhm.
and then the whole questioning of like, when do I get to reap my rewards from this? Um, yeah, so it was a very, I wouldn't say like, the questions that started to come up to self-analyze what I was feeling started to become very different, from moving from a state of it is what it is to moving into more of like, if this is the way it is and your body and your mind and your soul doesn't align with it, then what are you going to do now?
Right. Yeah, and I remember like at the time when you signed up, you were kind of looking at it, you were making decisions based on how much money you thought you had in the bank account, right? Like you're looking at it saying, okay, I'm gonna I can afford this, I can't afford that. And that was dictating a lot of your choices in terms of, booking out massages. It's like, oh, I'm getting to the end of the month, I need to book more and more and more, right?
Yeah.
But what you wanted to be doing wasn't necessarily more massage. You had other dreams, didn't you?
I did. Yes, I
Mhm.
did. And that was
Can you
also one of the
explain
reasons why I did want to come into this program, was because one of the parts that I did want to really branch into is building a mentorship program for um, health practitioners like acupuncturists and massage therapists too. And knowing that, you know, when I sit into the feeling of like what that feels like, it already feels like an overwhelming, daunting task.
Right.
And that feeling, it does feel like it's going to change my life. And so with that, I can see within this program where when there is a big change that needs to be made, um, it's more like the sense of resistance of being able to be distracted, and the sense of resistance of not doing that goal fully is what keeps on coming up.
Right.
So the
Mhm.
amount of stuckness I have felt in this last year that we've been together has been immense, like it feels
Mhm.
immense. And it's just constantly every day. It's like, okay, Susie, if it's you against you, what are you going to do today if that is your goal? And this program has helped me bridge that gap, at least like building the bridge to close that gap, to realize the sensation of the resistance and being able to keep on taking that one step forward every day, whether it's like
Right.
connecting with someone that could be a possible prospect to mentor, or putting a post out on social media about it, or just talking to people about it.
Beautiful. Yeah. And it's so interesting because you went through a whole like business location change this last year. You basically overhauled your entire business. And now that dream that you had right at the beginning of starting to launch a mentorship program and starting to support massage therapists in a different way, that is now finally coming to fruition.
Yes.
And but it's almost like you had to go through so many other learnings and growth and expansion and reorganizing personally in order to make that happen, would you say?
Yes, and that's the thing too, because I remember early in this mentorship program, I was feeling that, I was comparing myself to others in the program. The celebrations that people were bringing into the program, and thinking to myself, I'm not there yet. And being able to really create more ease and patience with myself, and
Mhm.
realizing that like everybody has a goal, but the way you're going to get there is going to be completely different, and that's okay. And
Yeah.
just telling myself like it's okay, there's a lot of things that are going on. Just notice the patterns that keep coming up, that kind of bump you back into your default mode of doing all the things, and then proceed accordingly. And one of the things that I do love about this program is that you always bring us back to our vision and mission, which is one of the things that you had us do and write out right at the beginning.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's so like it's interesting if we don't know where we're going, it's really hard to get there, right? Like if we really literally need to have a picture, and so many of us don't. I know for myself, I didn't for so long, and when we come into a program like this and have that container of support, I love watching the vision that you've created, and it's amazing how many other pieces of your life, we don't just talk about business with our vision, do we? We talk about finances, we talk about time freedom, we talk about what it looks like in our relationships, and how we want to be spending our time, and that really allows us to look at a full spectrum and say, what is happening in my life, what would I love to see, and then starting to bring that about, having the support of the program. That's a big piece, right?
Yes, it definitely is a big piece. And so the last half of last year was very tumultuous, where there was so much change that was happening that, you know, as much as I wanted to build this mentorship right away, like my spouse lost his job, and, like my lease was coming up for the business, and there are just like two things that had held us stable for so long that it felt like my life was crumbling. But
Mhm.
one of the things with the support of this group, and being where I was when all that was unfolding, was being able to say to myself, your intention was to build more freedom and flexibility. So in order for you to kind of like live and move in that direction, things have to fall apart. Things have to, whatever is not going to serve you, it needs to just not be in your field anymore. So these are the big things that have to move out of the way, or at least like feel really big for you to continue moving in the way that you, in the direction that you want to move. And so
Yeah.
I knew at that point I could stay in the funk of like, oh my God, my life is falling apart. Or I can be like, I am okay because these are things that even though, financially it's going to be rocky because my husband didn't have a job and really not knowing where to take business. Like the other side of it was like, I get to change. Like I have choice in this.
Mm.
And so with these things, what are we going to do? Are we going to move out of Edmonton? Are we going to what are we going to do? And
And you're getting to create your life in the moment, right?
yes,
Rather than
yeah.
like react and reinforce patterns of, that might be of scarcity or not enough. You're looking at it saying, okay, what do we get to create with this? What do we get to do with this?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the hardest part. But at the same time, knowing where what my intention was with this program, it was more, it was like that light at the end of the tunnel where it just started to just crack open. And it was like, here's the pathway, take it or leave it. What do you want to
I
do?
love that. I love that so much, Susie, because like as you were talking, I was visualizing like a seed, with like all of the potential for life inside of it. And like there is so much energy that goes into this, this power of life to crack through the shell of this seed in order to go through the dirt to get to the light. It's like we think that transformation is like rainbows and butterflies, or some people might think, oh, it's a process and I'm going to enjoy it, but it can have its very, moments where we're really not sure
Yeah,
why
it's
we're
not
going
all
through what we're
unicorns
going
and
through.
rainbows over here. That's
No.
what I'm
And
saying. It's like it's on a daily, being able to like really question myself and just be and notice like what emotions come up and how it's like, what are you gonna do? Like you know your goal. So are
mm,
you gonna stay on track, or is it okay to be off track for a couple of days or a week and really maybe reflect, right? And
right. And maybe that off track is actually on track. Like,
yeah.
sometimes when we're going through those tunnels, we don't necessarily see the potential that's going to come up at the end, and you really stayed the course with it, and you really put your intention very clearly in front of you. And look at now everything that's changed from the fall even to now, right? So tell us about where you are right now. Tell us about how things have shifted for you.
So I used to have about like 2,000 square feet over in south central part of Edmonton. And my lease was up at the end of November 2023. And I let it go. And the cool thing was that even though there was a lot of influences coming in of people being like, you built your empire here. Why don't you just like extend your lease and see how it's gonna go? And even, with my parents saying like, you've invested so much money in this, like, why are you going to let it go? And just staying with myself and with my integrity of like, it just doesn't align with my heart and soul to be in this building. And it's time to go. And there's nothing wrong with that. And um the feeling of the freedom and the flexibility was much larger than anyone's convincing could ever be. So I'm in like in this time, in this present moment, I've been so grateful to be able to have that much like empowerment and integrity within myself that I couldn't be swayed. It was like making the decision, and that was the decision. And so now I'm out of two locations that are not like a full-on clinic. So one's a yoga studio in downtown that I rent a treatment room out of. And then I have another treatment room that I share space with a colleague out in Sherwood Park. So
Mm.
literally, these rooms are like not even 200 square feet. And it's just there to provide one-on-one treatments for my clients. So I get to continue doing that. But one of the things that I absolutely loved that did come up from this was being able to collaborate with so many people in the community that are yoga instructors, people that want to bring like sound therapy to treatments. And that one of the inspirations that I had was like, if people can't come and see me on a one-to-one basis, regardless of like, or because it's like financial issue, time issue, then how can I be more accessible to people? And so
Mm.
collaborating with people in the community and building events where you get this potent experience for yourself, that has come to fruition. And so that has also been one of the ways I get to travel, because now I'm into like the smaller towns of Alberta where sometimes, well, massage therapy is not accessible to them, or any sort of like, deeper healing practices, any somatic practices. So this is a good way for them to kind of like feel it out and be inspired by that and gain that experience that like really sets into all the cells of their body, and hopefully, encourage them to create more of that for themselves.
That's beautiful, Susie. And like I've been loving going through and seeing, you on social media, you rebranded yourself, you're out at Pigeon Lake, you're doing things, with the music in the community. And it's seeing so many things come together that you had in your vision that you love and that you wanted to be doing more of, but didn't have the time, space, or even just the energy freedom to be able to do. Now being able to put your energy, your time into that, that's amazing. Like time is one of the greatest gifts, right? Because we don't know how much we have, and we don't know, what that's gonna, if we're using all of our time throughout a week, it's just it gets sucked up by the things that are the to-dos, right? So being able to start taking back control of your time and really use it and put it into the things that are living, like just filling up your heart. I love that so much. That's amazing. That's
And I think
beautiful.
one of the biggest things that I learned about that is that like I'm just not going to cold call these other people and be like, "Hey, I'm Susie. Do you want to run an event with me?" It takes time to build these relationships. So over the course of 2023, you know, being able to build relationships with the people that I collaborate with now. And it's only now, like a year after, that we're actually putting events out there. So being able to let go of the concept of time and really set into the mindset of like, it's what is more important when running an event. It's like, I want to know who I'm running the event with on a really good, like, soul level that, when we're running events together, we don't even need to talk to each other. We just get each other's vibe. And it's not like we don't take a lot of time planning. It's like, here's the location. This is what we're going to do. This is what I'm going to bring to the table. And then when it unfolds, it's beautiful and it's
I love
effortless. So, and
Yeah.
it's one of those things that continues to show me when you are aligned with what you and your heart and soul want to do, there's so much ease in it. And it's going to bring the abundance in such a different way that you possibly had a different expectation. So let's say, for example, one of my like previous mindsets was like, if I run a retreat, it will bring me X amount of money, right? And but knowing that now, the money is not the end game. It's the experience and the people that I get to meet and the relationships that I build with people, and seeing certain people just continuously show up to certain events. It's just been so lovely to see, no matter who I collaborate with, there's always like 4 or 5 people that have followed me for like every month and every event. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, they're coming. It's so good. But yeah, like when you're, in this community, when we're talking about things like bringing in abundance, being open to whatever that abundance is I think that's really important, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. You're looking at it from so many different angles. Abundance isn't just financial abundance. We're talking about abundance of time. We're talking about abundance of joy. We're talking about all of the things that are actually filling up our hearts from the inside out. And when we start to live from an abundance mindset rather than a scarcity mindset, or rather than feeling of lack or unworthiness, and we really start to step into our heart, it's amazing how that starts to align with the vibration of other people who are also starting to live from that place, who are emanating that frequency, and what that creates for the community. It fills up the soul on a completely different level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then because of that, the money comes. And it has also been able to teach me to have more ease with money. And, even though it does take time to build these relationships after how many brunches or how many mimosas we have, like
Yeah.
it's it when we get to start to run events together, like it just resources so much more abundance. And then the financial part is part of that.
Yes. And this is the difference from living from the heart and starting to build that trust in our own intuition, and really starting to say, what am I capable of? Like what am I capable of? And what are we capable of when we start to connect with other like-minded people and start to work that way? So, you having a very clear vision and being able to connect into that and really do some digging, right? Because you had to go through some crusts to get to this gold that you now have, but now you're starting to see the fruit of that, right? We a tree that gets planted in the fall is not going to bear fruit for many months, and it might even need another year before it comes into being. Could it be planted with fruit already on it? Yes. But does it sometimes take a few investments of our time, our energy, our frequency, some nourishment in order for it to grow? Every seed that we have has a different lifespan. Some are going to blossom right away, and some are going to take more time. So we start to see everything unfolding from the nurturing that you've been doing and from everything that you've been planting over this last year. It's amazing to see what's been coming up for you now.
Yeah, and I think, with that, when you start to resource yourself in those ways where you start to feel the joy and you start to feel that lightness and the ease in running a business or whatever it is, you begin to minimize your reaction to the initial trigger of why you started to wanted to call that abundance in the first place. So
Mm,
now there's definitely uh, a smaller gap between, like, let's say, for example, a stimulus and a trigger, and having a response that is not so much of a reaction, but be able to um, see it as more so of like, what is this showing me? So maybe in a lesson perspective, or even um, being able to just acknowledge the feeling and be grateful for the fact that you're not dwelling over it as long anymore. So
mhm.
being able to almost, like, if I were to put it in, I like to put things in volume dials for my clients. And it's like, if your pain is speaking up so loudly, what is it that we need to turn the volume up on and resource the body in that way? So then you can't hear the pain. Right. And it's one of those things that, you teach in your program where it's like, you need to know where you want to go in order to not have what you don't want. But it's so easy for us to know what we don't want, but it's very difficult for us to know what we want.
Yeah, I love how you put it in those dials too. And when we start to get really focused and clear with our intention, and start to really check in, like I love how you're talking about like that gap between, something happening and like there's that reaction moment or that potential for reaction, moving into, okay, now let me start to find more of a response that's real, the response I want to have. And we start to minimize that space where it's like, no, now now I can see myself. Now I can really see how I'm being in this. And that mastery of my mind is helping me now to navigate life in a very different way, rather than being a series of reactions to stimulus, which as business owners, you have things
Yes.
coming at you at every angle, all hours of the day, all the time. We get to choose now how we're moving forward with that. We get to choose our response to that. And it's a very, very different journey when it's coming from that connection and that internal space. It's night and day.
Yeah, it is. And I really do love how this program allows us the space to have those moments where you can acknowledge like, oh, this emotion is coming up with me, or within me. And I see it and I feel it. But what resources do I have, or how do I want to feel? How is this going to bridge the gap to where I want to get to? So it's not
Mm,
like we're ever pushing anything away. If anything, this program has allowed me to kind of like face those moments and be able to be like, oh, interesting. I have that point of view, or interesting, that emotion is coming up. And you don't necessarily, you know, you create that space between how your mind is gonna relay that information of like being like, oh, I'm angry about this, or like it's frustrating me. And it creates the space between you feeling that and what you would have done to react in that moment. And then being able to be like, what is this teaching me here? Like, I feel
mhm.
this is super uncomfortable. Growth is uncomfortable. What am I going to do? What am I going to do about it? How can I create more
Yeah.
ease, right?
Can I
Yeah.
create more ease? Yeah. How can I relax into this process rather than trying to force so many things? How can I just really embody what it is I want to embody? And I love that you say that growth is uncomfortable, because I think that's one of the biggest things for people is that they get into that uncomfortable space and they think, hey, it's not working. But it's like, actually, you have just started to grow. You've just started to push your life force energy against the crust of that seed and started to ask it to open. And now it's giving you some pushback. It's a little bit uncomfortable. It's not feeling so good, but that is part of the natural process of our own growth and evolution. And when we start to see and accept that, we realize, you know what, there's so much more that I'm capable of that I haven't even considered yet, and this is the catalyst that helps us get through having programs like these to support us in this transformation and this internal growth. And I just want to celebrate you for a second and say I just love the entire journey with you, seeing the way you've moved through it, the way you've navigated it, the way you've embraced the parts that felt uncomfortable and just really allowed yourself to dream and grow. Like you're amazing, Suzy. And I just love everything that you've created for yourself. It's so good. And this is just the beginning for you.
I know,
It's really
that's the
the
thing.
beginning.
I'm like, it's just the beginning, but we've been in it for a year. I remembered like being like, I wish this program was longer, because right when things really started to change for me was when the 6 months was up. And I'm like, I'm just getting started. Like all
Yeah.
that stuff that had come up after traveling, where I felt like my life was crumbling, I was like, now let's begin. Like that was my starting point, even though we were 6 months into the program. And that's when I was like, I need more. Like I need the
Yeah.
support. I need to be able to stay within this container, because what's going to come out next is going to be the actual mission and vision that I had sent to you right at the beginning.
Yes,
Well,
exactly. And
yeah.
it's funny how in the program, so now we do offer it for 12 months because we see that the support over 12 months is so much, it allows for so much more growth than just the 6 months. 6 months is really such a small amount of time when you really think about all of the things that have to come together for you to be able to do what you want to do, right? So, I love that you chose to stay and that you chose to continue, because it has really amplified your success and amplified the shifts and changes that have been so transformative for you. And I just love seeing where you are right now. I have another question for you, which is, first, there are a lot of people in our community, a lot of people within the yoga community who think that, and I know that that you're more in the massage therapy wellness industry, but you collaborate with a lot of yoga people too. So when you're looking at, you know, people who are on the sidelines who are like, oh, I don't know if this program would help me, I don't know if I should get into a container like this, but they're struggling with their job, or they're struggling with their time freedom, or they're struggling with managing their business. Like, what words of advice, or what would you say to somebody who's in that position right now, considering that there's a program like this out there?
I would say if you're struggling and you feel like you're on this hamster wheel of repeating life patterns, and you know that you have that self-awareness within yourself and you're willing to make a change, then this is the program for you. That willingness has to be there. And it's uncomfortable because you know you're repeating a pattern, and you don't when you see something and you have a knowing about it and you don't want to do it, you can't undo that feeling. So there's only one way, and that one way is forward. And this is what this program is for. It's great. Like I can't, express like enough gratitude for the women that I've met in this program, and especially for your support, Krista, like for the amount of even just like one-on-one, one-off phone calls that we've had along the way. Um, because like as a business owner, you can it's so nice to be able to have that support of another business owner, because life is life. And even though we are in this program and we meet on a scheduled time, even for myself, I haven't been to some of the calls either, just because it's life just takes over. And I think this program gives you that space and time for those things in life to come up and practice what you learn from the program, and really start to implement it and see your life change. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I've taken away from this, is being able to know that I'm part of this container. Life is still going to keep on moving forward. It's not going to be, definitely not linear, but whenever those slumps or whenever those transitions happen, I can always come back to this support group and be like, hey, this is what's coming up. It might not even be business. It might be something with my kids. It might be an emotion that's coming up regarding who knows what, but it's life. And so to have this program to help you go through those struggles, it really keeps you aligned with your goal. But that's the bottom line. It keeps you in your foundation of where you want to get to.
I love that. I love that so much. And thank you for saying that. It's so important, I think, for me, when I look at supporting people in this program, that everybody is seen and heard, and that people are really connected to, that nobody feels like they're left hanging. I know of many programs out there where people will go into it, and then, at some point they just become a number. They just become, they're just supposed to go through the material or what have you. And there isn't that opportunity to connect. There isn't that opportunity to really, get your questions answered, feel supported. And I really, to me, I love to celebrate and work with other women who are really amazing at what they do. They have goals and dreams of what they want to see happen in their life. They're real people. They have families, they have cares, they have, stresses, and I want to see them succeed. And so being there and being available and connecting is a big part, I think, of what makes this program unique and different, because nobody drops off in this program. Everybody stays connected.
Yeah, it's been a really wonderful support group, definitely. And lots of learning, like we share so many stories in our container, and it's like, you have lots to always bring forward. You're a wonderful teacher with so many good golden nuggets of information all the time. But we have that kind of playground that we all get to, put our 2 cents into it, because we all have experience in different parts of our lives that contribute to our container. And so it's,
Yes.
not only hearing, feedback from you, but other women in the group that allow to, you just feeling heard and seen, I think,
Mhm.
as a business owner, is huge to help you move forward.
100%. And I love how you point out the power of the community that we have and how, the women are cheering you on. They might be somebody with a business down the street. A lot of people are local here. But there's that connection of support. There is that feeling that everybody is here supporting your vision too. And they have so much to offer. We all have so much to offer. So the container is really just a potent place for us all to learn and grow from each other as well, which is
Yeah.
so great. All
Yes.
right, Suzy. Well, I'm so grateful for you taking the time to chat with me today. Is there any last words that you'd like to share or anything like that?
Oh, just immense gratitude, Krista. Like, this has been such a wonderful journey. I feel like still every day I wake up, I'm still like, are we starting today? It's always a new day, And what I love about it is that it really keeps me in the present moment. Like, not being able to look too far in advance, even though I do have some goals that I want to achieve, but being
Mm,
able to always land back and just be like, okay, like, what does the day look like today? How am I going to have, what am I grateful for? That's one of the things you teach, is like being able to, know, like, right off the top of your day, just be like, what are the 5 things that you're grateful for? And then being able to like loop your mission and vision in, and staying with that. It's not even like, one of those things where you have to like dedicate an hour of your time in meditation. That itself is a meditation to just maintain your focus. And when you do that on a consistent basis, you begin to like develop such a deep trust with you and you. And I think that has been, been such a learning um thing for me ever since coming back from traveling, where I was experiencing that kind of like, whoa, I get to ask myself what I want to do. And then since then, it was just like I'm building trust with myself every time I get to return back to like, this is my day, this is what I'm grateful for, this is my mission and vision. Okay, let's go. What are we going to do? Right? So it almost sounds too easy, but it's not. And you need the support.
mm.
Support is great. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I love about you, Suzy, is like, we both laugh because we're both Virgos, right? And so
Yes.
we kind of laughed about that at the beginning. And like, I know that you have just an amazing business sense. You have a go-getter attitude. You don't leave things undone. Like, you're the type of person who's like on it all the time. So you are a very high achieving business owner. You're a very high achieving individual. And yet, isn't it amazing how much more we're able to achieve, not just in the physical aspect of our business, but by going within when we have the support to see ourselves more clearly and to really tap into what we would love, because we can get caught up in that productivity all the time
Yeah.
without it actually producing the results that we want, right? So, I look at someone like you who you have everything going for you. You have all the pieces, you have everything that you need, and yet how amazing the support has been in terms of getting you from where you were to where you are now. And that's just, and like, we all benefit from that support. We really, really do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you
you so
so
much.
much.
You're amazing. And I'm
You're
so proud of
amazing too.
you. Yeah, I'm very grateful for you being in this program and all the growth of the last year. It's been so, so amazing to support you. So I'm excited for the future. It's going to
Yes,
be bright.
me
Yeah.
too. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Have a great day.